What's up?
Hi! Hello.
How are you, Cammie?
Doing good. You know what we haven't been doing?
What?
Welcome back to the AttaGirl podcast.
Welcome back.
Haven't even mentioned what this is called anymore. We just y'all know.
Yeah, welcome back to the pod. You know.
Y'all know how it is.
You know, the AttaGirls podcast. It's Wednesday for y'all.
Happy Wednesday.
Or Thursday.
Yeah, whatever
Maybe you're listening to this on Thursday.
Happy day.
Happy day. Happy week.
Yeah, this is going to be a good week. I think I'm feeling great this morning.
No, me too. I wasn't feeling great this weekend because I still am unsure. I might have competed in my last meet ever. So 20 years of athletics might be gone.
Yeah, that's insane to think about.
Yeah.
But
we don't know yet.
You don't know, and that gives you the opportunity to shift and
new
grow
doors.
even more.
Yes. It's just when your identity is oh, I'm athletic.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Now I'm like, well, am I still? Because I don't have a sport. What does that mean?
Yes.
Wait, what does this mean?
No, you're good.
So-
You'll be fine.
So it's a little bit of I think I had an anxiety attack where I couldn't stop crying after the meet.
It's like a little bit of an identity crisis. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Bulldog Man, I told him that I was like, I'm really going to need you over the next few weeks because I think I'm going to forget who I am because what?
This is all you've ever known.
What? So that's in that. But then I had a long talk with my dad this morning and then it made me feel a lot better because I'm a planner.
Yeah.
It's I have to know wait, what am I moving? What season is next? What am I moving into? I have to have somewhat of an idea or else.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I don't so I think daily I fly by the seat of my pants.
Yeah.
Daily I do.
Yes.
But I don't want to live that way.
No.
If that makes sense.
No, that makes total sense. Oh, that makes total sense. So that's kind of been whatever. I think I might go see Bulldog Man this weekend. I haven't seen him and I know it hasn't been that long, 2 weeks?
But, I get that.
But I tell you what, so the thing that's different with us, we didn't start in the same place and then do distance.
Right.
So distance really does suck right now.
Yeah.
Especially having a day like I did Saturday after competing and all I wanted was to see him. And then he had just finished a game and was going out with his friends and stuff. So it was well, this sucks.
Yeah.
I really would love to be able to just be with you right now, see you, whatever. So that's just tough when doing distance, but it is what it is. So I think I'm going to go see him this weekend just because I really miss him. But
good. You should.
It's a fun feeling, missing someone.
Yeah.
And actually leaning on someone for support.
Yeah. Actually talking about real stuff with someone.
And you know what so this is kind of crazy too. We talked about this last night on FaceTime. One thing I told him that I really appreciate about him is that even though he's very successful at what he does, he never looks down on me for what I do.
Yeah.
He is a guy who has so much confidence. He reminds me of a Travis Kelce in terms of very successful at what he does, works hard at it, very proud of what he does, but always supports me in what I do and never looks down on me.
Right. Yeah.
And I know
that's what you should want. That's what everybody should. Or that's what you should be more than what everyone should want.
And
it shouldn't be that hard to find because that should be the normal.
Yes. And so that's what was crazy. I was I don't really know why I'm thanking you for this, but I think it's because I really haven't had this where, there's a athlete, because it's a kind of an athlete thing. Or honestly, it's a lot of guys are this way, and no disrespect, and I don't mean to group guys into. And
I'm sure women can do the same thing.
Yes.
That's all. Just by the way, tangent. That's always implied. We know it from a female perspective, talking about men, but I'm sure it goes both ways. That's
absolutely
always understood.
You should never have your successes and feel you're better than somebody else just because your success is different. So that's one thing I really appreciate about him. And I think it's one of those things going through all this that I'm about to go through and just life changing in general, it puts me back in a place of what it was like when I was in a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
And it's even that much more crazy how things should be.
I know, it's crazy to think about. Even last night I was hanging out with Drummer Boy. New name.
Heck yeah.
And I kept so we were just driving around talking about everything. Yeah. And those are my favorite kind of times too.
Love. Yes.
But I kept like referencing like my past, and I would have to like bring up another man if I talked about my past. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I kept saying, I didn't even realize I was saying it. I was like, sorry, is that weird? Or like, sorry, if I say that, is that weird? Does that make you feel weird? And he called me out. He's like, why do you keep saying that? Why do you start every sentence with, I hope this doesn't make you feel weird? And I sat there for a second and I was like, it's the trauma.
Yes.
Literally. I was like, because I remember in my past, like bringing up a subject that involved another man. Like literally may have been telling a story about when I was 15 and a guy friend was there. And then literally I would be stonewalled.
Yes.
The rest of the day.
Yes.
And he would, or if we were in the truck, he would not speak and drive so fast and scare me. Just because I brought up.
That's so funny you say that, because we were talking about different pasts and stuff, and then I would be like, oh gosh, he's gonna get quiet, and then he'd ask me more about it.
Yes.
And I'm like, wait,
oh wait, you're not uncomfortable talking about the fact that I've dated other people other than you?
Yes. And it's
oh wait, you realize I wasn't born the day before I met you?
Right. You realize I had a life right before you? Sorry.
Insane. But like I thought, and I hate to say it, but I thought that was normal.
Yeah.
And like coming out of it and being on the other side and actually learning that, hey, it's very normal to talk about your past and to let people understand maybe why you are the way you are.
Yes. And I think that's why he asks more questions, because he wants to get to know me, what I've been through, how to help me through it. Because his biggest thing is too, is like, I never want to put you through an ounce of what you went through. And also like, I want to be able to help you relearn how to be loved.
Yes.
Or how to not shove your feelings down.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to talk about how you feel. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, are you going to ignore me? Are you going to yell at? Please don't yell at me.
Are you going to just get quiet and like pretend I don't exist,
even though I'm in the same room? Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going to punish me by being silent?
Stonewalling.
Yeah,
I learned that's a term. It's a term.
Wait.
So I did look up before the pod.
Okay.
Some signs that you're in a toxic relationship. Just because, so in my personal life right now, I do have a friend who's going through something that is very too familiar to me.
I hate that.
Yeah. And I just think that obviously she's not the only one going through it, and I'm sure there's hundreds of women going through it, and you're so not alone. And I think it's more normal than we'd like to admit or think, or even
think about how many freaking songs are out there.
Right.
That are so relatable. And if I'm like, if someone wrote lyrics to this and the whole world is listening to it, we are all
screaming it.
Yes. We are all relating to toxic relationships.
Yeah. So this is out of order, but one of the ones said, like what we've been talking about,
I didn't even know what that was.
Your partner is constantly stonewalling you. It says having a fight doesn't mean your relationship is toxic, but if your significant other is always shutting down when you try to bring up what's bothering you, that's what some therapists call stonewalling. Stonewalling occurs when your partner stops listening to you and says they don't want to talk about said issue, acts unresponsive, or even straight up walks away when you want to discuss something of importance. Yeah, it's a thing.
That makes me want to cry.
I know.
Because
it says healthy couples are open to each other's feedback. You should be invested in each other's happiness and seeing what you can both do to communicate more effectively.
So, okay, this is wild because like Bulldog Man and I have not had literally any issues at all. He's just the sweetest human being ever. But we had a little bit of frustration over the weekend, and his texts were paragraphs back in response to things, and it was so sweet, and he wanted to talk about it. It was like, are you sure you're okay? Well, what can I do? And the way he was reassuring me was awesome, but it wasn't the reassurance I needed for the situation that was happening.
Yeah.
So then I was like, can we just talk on the phone? Like texting, I don't think we're getting our points across to one another. So we FaceTimed yesterday, and he just wanted to talk through everything for everything to be okay. And it was so, I have not had that.
Yeah. Yeah.
In probably genuinely 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
So that was crazy to me. And then like wanting to have a resolution, wanting to be like, okay, well, this is part of us like learning and growing and knowing how to support one another better, know how to handle things better. And it was the craziest thing to me because like that, I had been stonewalled.
Oh, all the time. All the time.
And instead of telling me that something upset him, just ignore me.
And you know what's crazy about that? I wonder if you dealt with this too. It's like they would stonewall. And then when they felt, or after you got quiet and you were going to sit in another room even or whatever, then that's when they wanted to talk.
Yes. And so
it's manipulative.
Yes. And my mom always told me she thought it was his way of getting a reaction out of me.
Yes.
To think that to show that I cared. Like me crying and being so upset was him being like, oh, well, now I got her to actually show that she cared.
Yeah. It's like his twisted way of getting validation.
And it was manipulative.
Yes.
Because then it was one of those things where it's like, well, now I'm not going to do anything to piss him off because it's just not even worth it to go through all of this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do anything where he's going to ignore me because that gives me anxiety when I don't hear from him for 3 days. And then that anxiety has carried through into now all of my relationships.
Yeah.
Like in situationships would drive me crazy because I'm like, great, haven't heard from them in a few hours. Like they're probably with someone else or they're probably pissed at me or I did something wrong. Like you spiral.
I do the same exact thing. Same exact thing.
And that's why him over communicating to me is literally a gift from God.
Genuinely, I think moving in with my brother and Beth like helped. I'm sorry. Kill me. Moving in with them really helped me because when I do have that spiral, I just walk into the living room like, okay, here's everything that's happening. And I talk about everything.
Yes.
And then, so I have Beth who's like very familiar with like therapy stuff. And like, she's like sweet and like, you know, it's like pulling, she's like, well, because this happened in your past, you're probably flipping that and turning that into, she's very, very great at that.
Yes.
My brother, on the other hand, just as effective though. I don't want to downgrade him. He's like, you're being an idiot. He's probably at work. I'm like, well, yeah, but like he can't text me at work. And he was like, you think I text Beth when I'm working?
Yeah.
No.
You're like, oh, good point.
Yeah, that's a good point. He's probably busy.
He's probably doing
like
his
genuinely
job.
busy. It is 3 p.m. on a Monday. He's probably like working or driving. Drew says that. And he's like, what if he's driving? And I'm like, text me. Why can't you text and drive?
Yeah, get in a car crash, please, for me.
That's what Drew said. He's like, oh, so he should just die because you need a text back.
You're like, if he cared. If he really liked me.
And I'm like, you know what? Good point. But so I have like the sweet like explanation side and the snap out of it side. And it helps.
What's funny is my brother's the same way because when I first started talking to Bulldog Man, when I talk about overthinking, the start to now though, growth. In a month, growth. We had our 1 month the other day.
Cute. Yay.
But growth. But at the very beginning, I was texting or snapping my brother and I was like, Connor. And he was just like, why are you doing that? That's dumb. You've got something so good in front of you and you're going to screw it up. Like, why are you doing this? Like, you've had crappy guys. Now you have a good one and you're going to, and I'm like, wait, you're right. I'm going to push them away. You're right.
There's a Lawrence, what's her name? Lauren Spencer Smith. Is that a?
Yes.
Yeah. There's a song called The Aftermath that is really great because.
Wow. I'm going to have to listen.
Let me think about the lyrics. It's like, shoot. I'll have to pull it up. But she basically, the song is about how you can sometimes accidentally adopt some behaviors from your past. Yeah. And become the toxic one.
Yeah. That was me right after.
Yeah. And you don't mean to. Oh, good. And you absolutely never want to do that. And two, like you don't want to admit to doing that. It's like, no, like I've been through toxic. I would never do. Well, and you don't even realize
you worry about being manipulative and controlling, like him going out with his friends. The other night, I was like, well,
struck a nerve for a second.
Oh, well, and he was like, I'm just with so and so and all of her teammates, and I was like, huh? Yeah. What do you mean with your?
What was that?
You're here with a group full of gymnasts. Awesome. They're really flexible, pretty, talented, fit. Yeah, leotards. Were they wearing them out too?
Yeah, they're definitely wearing those to the bar, right?
I mean, that's literally when I say spiral.
No, I get it. No, I totally get it because you can't help it.
No. But then what made me feel better is yesterday, he's like, I can see how that looks because even it's his best friend's girlfriend's teammates. Mm-hmm. And his best friend was like, dude, I don't think I would have said that because it's not like it's her entire team here. It's like her 3 roommates. And he was like, yeah, I can see how that probably was not taken very well. It's like
her entire team of hot women.
Yeah.
That's how I'm going to read that.
That's exactly how I read it. He was like, that's not what I said. That's how it came off my phone.
I don't know. That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah. So
something must have twisted in the transport, but that's what it says.
Yes. So, and then I get to where I'm like, no, I'm not going to text you while you're out. Enjoy being out. Like, go. Because I'm also like, the less I know, the better. Because my mind spirals when I read something. And I'm like, oh, so you mean this? Oh, so this. And he was like, yeah, everyone like keeps coming up and like asking about you, talking about how gorgeous you are, how they want to meet you. And I'm like, well, good. All of them should know about me. What is wrong with me?
No, I get it. I really do get it. Because this is so stupid, but like, So we were talking about, me and Drummer Boy last night were talking about everything. I did have the combo with him that we were talking about last week. Yes. I was like, yeah, I think I'm being breadcrumbed, but I don't know. Maybe it's
Which also, I mentioned breadcrumbing and like about this episode, did someone outside of this, and they're like, what even is that? I think that's something after this we can talk about that, just like stonewalling, talking about breadcrumbing. But yeah, go ahead.
So I did. He actually brought up the talk before I had to.
Wow.
I know. He just straight up asked me, "What do you want from me?" It's like, this is such a man.
What do you want from me? Just lay it out there. Lay it on me.
Anyway, we got through that, and things are good. That's what I'll say. But the last night we were talking about like my past and stuff, and I was like, yeah, I don't have the best track record with men, whatever. And I was talking about how like I've been reached out to even recently. Just by the way, I need to update you. He's not very happy of the way he's being portrayed on this podcast.
Yes.
Just, I mean, and that's a whole other thing. I'll get into that too about toxic relationships. Like he thinks that
I also think this is a part 1 and we're going to do a part 2.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, we just have so much to say. Oh goodness, I keep bumping the mic.
It's okay. It's 10:37.
Okay, yeah.
Not in a bad way. that's my time. Like I think I'm going to die at that time.
No, stop.
Something's happening.
I think you're going to get proposed to at 10:37.
Maybe.
Anyways.
Okay. Sorry.
So this is part 1 of toxic relationships.
Yeah. But he's not very happy, and I will say, so one of his complaints in his 45 messages were that I act like it was all bad and there was nothing. Here's the thing about being in a toxic relationship. It's actually a great talking point. Of course
there were good moments. You wouldn't have stayed.
Right. Like I feel like that's implied, and maybe it's not. Maybe it's of course there were great moments. But I will say, like, when you're in a relationship like that person is your best friend in the world and also your worst enemy. You don't need to ignore the worst enemy part. And I think that's why I keep talking about that part, because it's like important.
That's what we were ignoring. And that's why we were staying. And when you talk about...
Oh my God.
Whoa.
This episode.
Sorry. Chaos. I love it. Love it.
We don't edit this, by the way, so you get all of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me just X out of Spotify. Holy moly.
Well, but when we talk about breadcrumbing, what he doesn't realize, the good times were the breadcrumbing.
Yes.
That's
like, I shouldn't be thankful that you were nice to me sometimes.
No.
And I shouldn't have to praise you. Like, yeah, he sucked, but like he was really nice sometimes. I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm just not. That's not a compliment. Like, yeah, you should be nice all of the time.
Right.
Cool.
And that's the mindset of toxic people.
Yeah.
Is they always feel like you're not grateful for the good that they did.
Yes.
And I'm like, excuse.
I think that's one of these points.
I'm like, really?
I think.
Because my thing is, I'm sorry, but the good does not outweigh the bad. The anxiety, the depression, the emotional abuse, the loss of confidence, the hurt, everything that's toxic that comes, that most definitely outweighs any ounce of good there is.
Oh, I forgot. You touched on this. One of the signs of a toxic relationship is your significant other is super competitive with you. And you touched on that earlier.
Because Bulldog Man is quite the opposite. It's always uplifting one another. Because anytime with my toxic relationship, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to go on this really cool trip with WWE and da-da-da. Yeah, I know. I grew up going to those all the time. And I was like, oh, well, we got to go backstage. Yeah, I've been backstage plenty of times.
So, yeah, I went through that same thing about, like, vacations, like, little stuff. And he grew up in a very, like, well-off family. And good for him. Like, I'm not saying that in a negative way. But he made me feel uncomfortable sometimes because I did not.
Yes.
And, like, family vacation was not, like, a once-a-year thing. Like, when it happened, it was, like, a really big deal. Even if it was just destined.
Yes.
You know, but it was, like, a really big deal.
Yes.
And I would say things like, yeah, I've always wanted to go here. He's like, I've been there like 3 times.
Yeah, like,
I was like, it's not that great. It's like, oh.
I hate that. And
yeah.
One thing, too, I get so excited over the little things.
Yes.
And it was always like a, what? Like, always bringing me down a notch.
Look,
always.
They strip away your self-esteem.
Yes.
Like with comments, so these examples are like, I don't like that dress. cut your hair. I don't like it like that. Why are you wearing so much makeup? Why do you have to see your friends tonight? I thought you were going to stay home. I thought you were going to cook dinner tomorrow night and Saturday. I don't want to go out. I heard all of that shit.
Yes.
All of it.
And so
it just makes, and there's a clear imbalance of power.
Yes. And you always feel less than. You feel like you can never speak up, talk about feelings. Talk
about your emotions and being excited about things because you're always like taken 2 notches down.
And you're getting, you get trained.
Yeah.
Like it's a slow, and that's the sad thing is people don't know you're in it until it's too late.
Yes, because you're already trained.
And
another one of those points is like if your friends and family are concerned, like that might be a sign that you're in a more toxic relationship than you think. Yes. And that's the biggest point that I have too. Is like, I don't want you to think that your friends are jumping down your throat.
Because I pushed my friends away when they tried.
Me too, 100%.
I got so defensive.
And I just stopped talking about him altogether.
And that's another thing too. And then what your friends and family know, it's not even half of what's going on.
Yes.
And if that's a red flag and it's not even half of what's going on.
Yes.
That's awful.
Yes.
I literally have chills. Look at this.
No, I know.
Talking about all of this.
It's bad.
Because then it just makes you, like, for me too, I'm so grateful I went through all of it because of
me too.
who I am now.
Me too.
And just like what you said, I think last week about the person you're dating shows the respect you have for yourself or whatever.
Yeah.
And that is so true. But I think the quality guy I'm with now, I wouldn't have been with before.
No.
Because I've learned so much about myself and grown so much. And
you know what to look for.
Yes.
You know what to watch out for too.
And then you can, like, for us being able to come on here and talk about this and hopefully help so many people, I'd go through it again if that means I can help 10, 15, 20 other women.
Agree. Completely.
And so another thing, which I think we do need to dive more into this, like next week, continue talking about signs and red flags, because like we just said, you don't know it until it's too late.
Yeah.
And so what I finally did was got a therapist.
Yeah, me too.
For one, because I was anxious all the time. I didn't even know what anxiety was until I went to therapy.
Yeah.
But I also needed help. I was like, I don't know what to do, because anytime I try to get out of this, he gets mad at me or attacks my character.
Yes.
Makes you feel like the worst person ever for trying to get out.
Mm-hmm. And that was another thing too. Like, he was like, you're just going to act like you haven't reached out to me and you haven't done this to me. Like, just through the years and stuff. Like, of course I have. Because like, I'll be the first to admit that. Like, that's not a secret.
Yeah.
Of course I've gotten weak.
Yes.
Through the breakups and stuff, and been like, okay, no, I actually can't handle this. Yes. Like, the anxiety got too heavy. And I'm like, well, if I just like get back with him, it'll be fine again. Like, I'll feel better.
Feeling alone is hard.
Yeah, especially when you're so wrapped up in like feeling like shit.
Yes.
You know? And like, sometimes when you're in a toxic relationship, like that overwhelming feeling does go away when you finally just are in their presence sometimes.
Mm-hmm. You feel like it's better to be with them than be alone. And then you have to go through the growth of finding out it's better to be alone than be with them.
Yeah.
And that's so hard. And that's why if you're listening to this and you are in a toxic relationship, please listen to 1 Step Forward, 3 Steps Backwards, because that song in itself, literally.
Yep.
Because it even talks about
I'm the love of your life until I make you mad.
Yes. Or it's the roller coaster is all I've ever had. So you don't know any different.
Yes.
And that's why you do go back, because you get so stuck in this pattern.
Yeah.
And so for me with my therapist, we really talked through, and she knew from the moment the first time I went in her office that we were going to break up, but she knew it was going to take me time to get there.
Yeah.
And so she would even help me try to learn how to keep conversations or arguments less heated.
Yeah.
And how to walk away from a heated argument and be like, until you can keep your cool and we can talk about this respectfully, we're not going to talk about it right now. I'm going to hang up. And like, she taught me how to handle it so that I wasn't getting so amped up.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of like the first step with her. Cause then for me, I think it was going through all these things where I felt like I did everything I could. And then eventually it was like, well, it's just ultimately there's nothing else to do. And she's like, you're going to have this window to get out.
Yeah.
And you have, like, you'll know when it is.
Yeah.
Mine was something that happened at night and it carried over into the next day. I was at Heritage House and there was a guy next to me reading his Bible, and he called me and was like, are we not going to talk about last night? And I was like, I don't really have anything to say. Like, I'm done. Like, I had packed all my stuff and I knew I wasn't going back to his house ever.
Yeah.
And then the man next to me reading his Bible brought me over tissues because I was crying in Heritage House.
Oh.
And was just like, anything I can pray for you about? And I was like, yes, actually, like getting out of a relationship. And I called my therapist, and she was like, stand your ground.
Yeah.
Do not go back. And so it was talking to her for a few days, even on the phone, talking to my family. Don't go back. Don't text. Don't call. Nothing. And finally just breaking it. And then I went on spring break, got away with my friends. He still tried to call, text, stay in touch. We even met back when I got back.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Tried to beg.
You still have an inkling to see them and stuff and like hear them out. And, and I think that's fine if that's what you feel like you need to do for closure or whatever, but just don't.
Yeah.
Don't believe them, honestly.
No, because you can work on like responses to things. You can work on how to support, of course. You can't change a person.
Yeah. And ultimately, every time you take someone back, you're giving them more ammunition and more. You're just teaching them that,
it's
hey,
okay.
I can do the worst shit to this person.
And they're going to come back.
And they're still here. They've proven that time and time again. So they're not going to stop their behavior because they are fine.
Yep.
You didn't give them a consequence.
Nope.
A real one.
And I can't give someone a consequence anyways, even if I wanted to. It's just not the person in me. You know what I mean?
Me neither. Yeah.
So, wow, that got a little more serious, guys. Sorry. But man.
I could continue this for the next 3 hours. And
we will. Next week, we'll have a part 2 just because this is part of the reason we started AttaGirl because it's a big, like, AttaGirl, you got out of that. So we really encourage y'all to, kind of take steps towards getting out of it. Seek a therapist, DM us, ask us for help, and we can talk about it next week.
I would love that. I would love that.
Yeah,
100%.
So we love y'all. And girls and guys, get out of those toxic relationships.
Yes,
they're not healthy. But,
sorry if this episode was a little bit scattered. We were
it was very like on par to who we are. So you're welcome.
Love you guys.
We love y'all. Bye.
Bye.